So interesting that even students who are going through this can start to recognize some of the shifts that are created with mindset. We're going to look at a couple of pieces that I gave to you, and then we're going to spend some time thinking about how we might frame these statements with our kids. So kind of similar, Dweck's research basically is looking at, on the one side, the fixed mindset, on the other side, the growth mindset, and how those fit together, and how we respond differently to challenges, obstacles, effort, and so on, all the way down to the success of others, which is interesting. Just flip it over. And then on the back of that sheet, there are some myths about the mindsets. So she would sort of argue against some of the things that we might just have taken for granted. You know, people are born smart versus intelligence develops over time. Praising children's intelligence is good versus praising children's intelligence is bad. Or it gets them into that sort of fixed place. Smart kids learn quickly and easily versus working hard makes you smart. And then failure, it can be seen as an opportunity for learning. And potential cannot be measured. I love that because I think while we are headed in a direction with our kids, we don't know where they're going to go. And so we provide the best support we can, but we can't measure that potential. It's going to evolve and emerge. And there's such growing, developing beings right now that as we walk alongside and encourage them, I think it's really neat to think about it as potential. We don't fully know where that's going to end up. We're going to look at fixed, mixed, and growth mindsets in a minute. But before we go to there, I just wanted you to take a couple of minutes, having sort of heard this, some of the research and some of the thoughts, and think about what kinds of messages could you or would you give to your child that would reflect a fixed mindset. So an example of that might be, you're so smart, you got an A without even studying, right? Or two messages that you could give to your child that would reflect a growth mindset. That homework was long and involved. I really admire the way you concentrated and finished it. What might be a fixed mindset message? Yes?
Never mind, math is a pure subject.
Yes, and I was bad at math too. It's amazing how genetic math is. Yeah. Great, another sort of fixed one? Yeah?
You're a natural at riding your horse.
Okay, yeah. Something else. Kids have to answer in class, just so you know. Okay, let's move on to growth mind. Oh, do you have a fixed one?
I was just going to say, gee, you know, your daughter so-and-so is so smart.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah, well, we feed each other. Yeah, great point. Thanks. What about growth mindset? Yes?
I always say, I'm not looking for the A, I'm looking for the E.
The E for effort. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Say your practice and training is needed to improve.
Yeah. I can see you improving as you practice such and such a skill. I can really see that improving, but it's the practice, right? Any others? These are great.
Congratulations, you worked your way through that tough assignment.
Okay, so, and just to sort of point out a few more that are in your package, if you sort of skip over the fixed, mixed, and growth, there's the growth mindset feedback. There's two sheets. One of the things that's really important to me as we gather is that we not only hear about the research, but that we actually have some tangible ideas to take away and think about. Whether you choose to implement or not, of course, is obviously up to you, but it's really important to have something, I think, to take away. This was created for teachers, and I was gonna, pull it apart and break it down, and then I thought, you know what, I actually think it kind of works for us as parents as well. So, different kind of context, right? When there's struggle despite a strong effort, what are the kinds of things you would say there that would continue to kind of reinforce that growth mindset? When they struggle and need help with strategies, what do you say then? When they're making progress. When they succeed, with strong effort, and I love this, when they succeed easily without effort. It's about, oh man, we really might need to challenge you a little bit more in the future, and those kinds of comments. What I do, if it's of any value to you, is when I get 2 pages, I find this really overwhelming. But what I might do is go away and highlight 1 or 2 in each of the categories and just try them and see what happens in conversation with our kids. So I wanted you to have that as a bit of a reference point. Oops. And the last piece, which is actually, not in order, just in front of that one. I think the other thing is with any theory, we have to be careful that it isn't all very simplistic, right? This is a pretty, could be seen to be a very kind of simplistic theory. And I think personally that we have both mindsets going on inside of us, depending on what we're asked to do and what the situation and circumstance is. So I really liked this sheet, again from a teacher package, but I don't think it matters, where there's sort of basically in all of those categories about challenges and mistakes and criticism and so on, there's fixed, mixed, and growth mindsets. I know in certain contexts I get quite, probably pretty fixed in my mindset. And so I think what we're looking for is what is the predominant mindset? How does our child, how do we even, go at learning new things? How do we treat failure and challenges? How do we respond when, do we want to look a certain way, or do we want to actually do the learning that goes with that? Do we want our kids to be seen to be X or Y, or do we want them to do the hard work that gives them that learning on their plate? So I wanted you to also have that, because I do really want to shy away from it all being just a nice little package that you go home and say, you are a growth mindset. Which would be a fixed statement, really, about growth mindset. And just to kind of reinforce this, I wanted to, no, I've shown that to you. I wanted to just close out the video piece with a couple of experts who have done some work. One is a parenting expert, Kelly Corrigan. If you were here at the session on failure, we watched a small clip. Today they're talking about growth mindset, and I thought it was a nice way maybe to pull together the ideas that we've been thinking about tonight. Oh, you wish it was like just that easy? Oh, okay, sure. However, some good points, I think, in that. I'm a real believer in the idea that as we talk about these ideas, we're going to do a question and answer in a minute, and we're also going to do a draw for the books. But it's really good to speak some things you've been thinking about before you go, because that moves it from sort of short term, oh yeah, I was at this thing, I can't remember exactly what she said, but it moves it from that to some key ideas that you want to take with you home. So I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to summarize with your partners, your elbow partners, people around you, and then we'll do a draw, and we'll also do some Q&A around this, and have more wine and cheese. Can anybody tell me one of the big ideas you're taking away from tonight? Something that's jumped out for you? I'd just like to know that. It's feedback for me. And you're also.
I think this is something great to take to the office too.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Yeah. Something else?
When do you give this talk to senior school students, and at what grade?
We haven't yet, but we could think about doing that. We have grade out meetings.
And also the staff.
Yes. I have spoken a bit about it to staff, but maybe we need to go back there. Is that?
I'm just wondering how Smooth teaches growth mindset. And whether SMOO teaches the growth mindset?
Well, I mean, SMOO is an organization filled with people, right? A continuum of people. And I think I would say yes, we do, because our focus is on learning, and we do want kids to be trying. Like I noticed, I was just at a admissions night last week, and different people stood up, so phys ed and all these different components, music, and it was all about having your child engaged and involved in the process. Like we have winning teams, we have house league teams, we have other options. We don't just take the elite musicians, we build a program around the musicians that emerge. So, and in academics as well, we have APs and those sorts of things, but we have other courses as well. So I think, but as I said before, I think both mindsets exist in all of us, depending on the piece. And so we need to just consistently kind of remember together and individually that it is about the learning. And I think that's where we are going, and that's where we are too at the same time, if that's possible. Yeah.
I'm wondering about the effort versus the sort of sleep sort of thing, and whether there's any rules of thumb or whether we know much about that, because it seems to me that there is a point where certainly, my child is better off going to sleep than sleeping on it. But at the same time, you want to support their effort for a while. Are there any rules of thumb on that for what's appropriate to support and what's the right time to say, let's close it off?
I don't, the rules of thumb around the hours of sleep, they seem high, but they're high. So I'm hesitating because I think every child's different. Like I've had parents that would say, my child can go on 5 hours sleep and they're fine. And I'm not going to dispute with you, your child. I would try, and I'm in these conversations with my own daughter who's in grade 12 and trying to juggle everything and say, okay, at what point do we say it's enough? And sometimes I say it and sometimes I don't. Like it sort of depends on the night. So I'm sorry I don't have I need to do a little video like that.
I thought it might be a simple answer.
Yes.
But
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it's a conversation though too, right? Having our students understand the power of sleep in their growth and development and their brain development is an important piece. And so that conversation and that idea that this is actually contributing, as well as eating, as well as fitness, as well as wellness and mindfulness.